Awesome. Well, I guess more people are gonna join soon. At least lots more people were registered. No, we're gonna try out having the registration over Zoom first. If you have alternative suggestions, and please do let us know. We know that, for example, the CNCF communities do it slightly different with posting a public link or having like a shared Google Docs. But we're gonna try it this way first. Welcome everybody to the first Trivy office hours. So this is basically a space where we share on a monthly basis updates on Trivy and Trivy related projects and the community. If you want to share anything during those calls, for example, use cases, showcase how your company is using Trivy or related projects, or you want to discuss something specific, or give a specific presentation on an idea or something, or just share that you have, for example, spoken about Trivy in a conference talk or written a blog post or something, then do share that in the GitHub discussions before the call. Now I ask everybody in this call, before you speak, like when you want to speak, raise your hand. Also, while we have the presentations, like raise your hand if you have a question. Zoom has a really nice functionality for that, to do that. So, and then before you speak, just introduce yourself by name and like what you do, or like who you are, just job title, or like what you work on or something like that, so people know who you are. Also, people from the core team, please, because probably lots of people are gonna watch this and not gonna know who's talking. Now, this call, last thing, is under our code of conduct, so please be respectful to each other during all interactions. We have two main agenda items, which is, first of all, the updates from the latest Trivy release with a demo. And you can ask questions throughout, or like after the demo. So if you have anything that you want to ask, either post it in the chat or just raise your hand and then we will get to it. And then afterwards, we have updates from the Trivy operator. Yeah, awesome. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining. So, Tepe, do you want to kick off?
Yeah, this week we released the version 0.30.50. It includes AMI scanning, AWS AMI scanning, AWS EBS snapshot scanning. It should be cool. So I'll show the demo. Let me share my screen. One sec.
Yeah. 082.
Okay. Share my screen. Okay, can you see my video? Yes. Yeah, this is what's new in the version 0.35. Yeah, you can see the AMI scanning. It's pretty simple. If you specify AMI ID or EBS snapshot ID, Trivy will scan that for vulnerability and misconfiguration, secrets, and license. Like, imagine like scanning container images in OCR registry. The same experience. You just pass the AMI ID, and that's it. Of course, you need to configure AWS account storing that AMI ID. So I'll show you, first of all, go to your AWS account and then go to the EC2 dashboard, EC2 page. Make it bigger a little bit. Then go to the images and then you will find AMIs. And then pick up the one of the AMI ID you want to scan. For example, pick up this one. It's Trivy demo. Copy the AMI ID and pass it to the Trivy. Now we have the VM subcommand. You need a prefix. Yeah, that's it. So it's pretty simple, but to make scanning faster, I pass security checks vulnerability because the license and the secret scanning takes a while. So if you only enable vulnerability scanning, the scanning could be faster. So execute it. Yeah, you can see the vulnerabilities detected in this Amazon Machine image. So you can also use the same CLI flags as the container image scanning or file system scanning. For example, ---- severity, if you pass severity critical. Yeah, you can see only the critical vulnerabilities. I should close the Teams. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so the same. Also, you can generate even SVO, like minus format, cyclone VX, output, CDX, JSON. Now it's scanning. By the way, my machine has a cache, so that's why it's fast. But it usually takes a few minutes or more, depending on the size of the image. But now you can see the Cyclone DX SVO. All right, so this is AMI scanning. Please be noted that public AMIs cannot be scanned. I mean, you will find public AMIs under this AMI catalog tab. For example, Amazon Linux, this AMI, it cannot be scanned because it's not our fault. This is a limitation of the AWS API. AWS API cannot return the volume of the public snapshot, public AMI. So you cannot scan this kind of images. But if you have the custom AMI in your AWS account, you can scan like private images. So this is the AMI scanning, and the next, the snapshot scanning. And by the way, you cannot scan the EBS volume. You can scan a snapshot, not EBS itself. You can even snapshot. So, for example, please pick up the, I don't know, one sec. This I have a cache. Trivy, VM, and EBS. There is a prefix. And then pass the snapshot ID, and to make it fast, pass the security checks flag. Yeah, same. You can see the result. So yeah, basically, under the hood, AMI scanning just scans the EBS snapshot because when creating AMI, the AWS automatically takes a snapshot of EBS. So they are basically the same, but yeah, you can specify either of them. Yeah, I think that's it. It's pretty simple. Also, it's statically analyzed, so you can just provide least permissions. It's mentioned in the documentation. Trivy document, you will find the AWS EC2 section, and you can see which permission you need. Technically, it's actions, but for example, the EBS scanning, you just need list snapshot blocks and the get snapshot block. It's a read only. Only two actions. You don't have to launch AWS EC2 instance. You don't have to mount EBS volume. You don't have to put a binary into that running instance. You can just put these permissions, and Trivy will fetch EBS volume from the AWS API. So it's secure, kind of. The issue 2 is the same. In addition to these 2 actions, you need describe images. But yeah, this is also just a read-only API, so there is no side effect. So yeah, it's secure and simple. Also, for example, you can create AMIs by Packer. The tool creating images maintained by HashiCorp. You can create AMI by Packer and scan that AMI, kind of the CI/CD scanning. You can do that. Yeah, maybe we will write another blog about integration of Packer. This time I didn't add it, but yeah, basically it's possible. Also, we support local file. If the local file is VMDK, we can scan it, but it's unstable yet. Maybe some VMDK files don't work, but maybe we will add more support for OBA or VHD, I don't know. But currently, VMDK has a lot of disk types, kind of subformats. But we support only stream optimized. So if your image is in other formats, Trivy will be crashed, will not detect any results. So yeah, also if your image uses LVM, Logical Volume Manager, we don't support it. So it's still experimental, but yes, it's a good stuff. Yeah, we don't support ZFS. Yeah. But yeah, we welcome any feedback from the community. So please give it a shot and give us feedback. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Any questions? Thank you, Tepe. Any thoughts? Just curious, out of the people here on the call, who's using AWS? Just if you want to post in the chat. Cool. If there are no questions, then we can move to the Trivy operator updates. But yeah, if you have questions, you can post in the chat or unmute yourself, like raise your hand on Zoom and unmute yourself and ask. Cool. Chen, do you want to share your screen?
Hi everybody, I'm Chen from the Trivy team, mainly working on the Kubernetes. We have a couple of interesting things in the last 2 releases we did. So one of them is in Trivy, where it support to compliance. So this is, I'm talking about the NSA compliance report. This is basically implementation of control checks defining the NSA and scanned by Trivy and presented as a report. I will show you a quick demo on that. Okay, so in order to use the Trivy NSA report in order to generate it, we need to run the Trivy Kubernetes subcommand. Okay, because the Trivy Kubernetes subcommand give us the Kubernetes cluster scanning. We are adding to it the -- compliance equal NSA. Okay.
Maybe if you want to make the font size big.
Yes. Let's see. Okay, bigger enough. So passing the -- compliance report NSA minus report summary. So this is the summary report. We also support all report and also in 2 formats. JSON and table. This one we show you quickly how it looks like the -- compliance report, and I'll explain a little bit what we are doing behind the scene. So while the report is generating, I'll switch very quickly to what we are doing behind the scene. So in the it's not sharing this one second. I'll share again my desktop. Okay, so behind the scene, we are running a spec. So the spec of the NSA, the spec definition that give us the control checks. And each control check is mapped to a Rigo check. Rigo is one of our misconfiguration checks. So there are a set of checks that are defined by the NSA spec. NSA spec can be seen here at the top. Now, the specification we built is a set of mapping between the control check and the Rigo check associated to it. You can see in the documentation all the checks we are doing, okay? And each control check is mapped to Rigo. So this is an example of the YAML, a very short example of the YAML that we are executing. There is a definition of the check itself, description, ID, and also the associated miscode configuration check. The misconfiguration check can be found, the full list of the checks can be found in Aqua vulnerability database. So this is the AVD, what refers the AVD. So if you want to create a custom reports, checks IDs can be taken from there, okay? And running basically the compliance report that described generate this type of report. So this report is, as you can see, give us the control checks. I'll make it bigger another time. So it gives us the control checks, the status of each check. Now you see the number on the right side, the issues. So every time a check is failed, it gives us the number of failed issues found. So it's basically scanning all the resources on the cluster and aggregate them by the control checks. So you can see, for example, in the non-container, in the root non-containers, we have the test is failed in 9 resources, okay? When it's passed, definitely there is no issues. So this is the compliance report, and it's done in non-intrusive way, everything by the Trivy CLI from the outside, without getting inside the cluster, running any resources inside. Okay, now in this release of Trivy 035, we need the ability to create a custom compliance report. So a user can create the YAML by yourself, following the instruction I gave here, as described in documentation. Just map, you can create your own control check map, the associate check ID can be found in the AVD. Okay, there is an AVD link here at the top. And can be mounted, so it's in the bottom. And you can create your own. Compliance report. AVD is this one. And this is the Aqua vulnerability DB. You go inside, you pick up your checks, and you create your own report. You can run it with a simple flag, minus compliance equal at and the location of the file of your custom compliance. Okay, so you have the ability to run built-in NSA reports or run your custom compliance report. Okay, this is on the Trivy side. On the operator side, we have added in the previous release the ability to run infra assessment check. This is part of our increasing the capability around compliance. So the infra assessment check, it's basically based on the CS benchmark. It's a big set of checks around the Kubernetes core components, which provide us visibility about how the core components are configured, and if they are configured based on the hardening standard, most of it coming from the CS benchmark. So this is an example of the core components we scanned. This is what you see here is the LAN extension with some reports already generated. Okay, so it checks various checks around the core components and give you the results. So the core components we are checking, as you can see here, is the control panel, API server, etcd, and of course, the scheduler. This is also a nice capability, give us a visibility of how our core components configured. And this is kind of the first step, which you're going to leverage it later on to create CS benchmark reports in Trivy and Trivy operators. So you're going to extend these infra checks to include more checks, which will complete a full CS benchmark report, and this is coming soon, so stay tuned. Yeah, that's it, I think.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions regarding that? Then I see Carolina is clapping. Feel free to post in the chat box or raise your hand and unmute yourself. Also, if you have any other questions regarding Trivy operator, you can, there's space, there's time to ask. Great. Anything else, Itai, that you would like to add?
No, I don't think so. Again, just want to encourage people to like tell us if you like it. Like even if you just thumbs up or like, is it useful for you? We're trying to come up with things that would make sense. I know that compliance report was one of the top requests for Kubernetes scanning, and I also wanted to say that next is we're taking the compliance report concept to more areas of Trivy. So, spoiler alert, expect to see it soon in cloud scanning as well, in AWS scanning, so that we'll have compliance firmware oriented scans there as well.
Also, if you would like to see specific tutorials or use cases or changes on the documentation, or your feedback also on the documentation, and please do let us know. That's very helpful for me to know those things. Again, this is going to be a monthly office hours community chat where we talk about updates to the project and related to project, and where you can just drop in and ask your questions as well. Yeah. Thank you everybody for joining. I'm gonna, I guess, wait a few minutes. If there are any questions, feel free to share. Otherwise, this is what we have prepared for today.
Actually, if there are no other questions, maybe it would be nice to mention another thing. I'm just trying to share my screen for a second. Is either one of you already in the meeting?
No, I don't.
Okay, just a sec. Just a sec.
Take your time.
Another sec?
No pressure.
Another sec?
We have time here.
You're working for the Pascal?
No, just there. I'm going to invite myself.
Will there be a similar call for Tracy, as that's the project I'm using these days more than Trivy? So we will we will schedule a call eventually for Tracy, but that's probably going to happen in the new year. And we're going to update that also on Slack and on the Tracy discussion. So just keep an eye on that. But we are planning to start similar calls for Tracy and the Tracy part of the community as well. So you can also join there then and ask questions. Yeah. So we thought, since the users are a lot of times quite different, we're going to split it up into Trivy and Tracy office hours. But yeah, if you have any thoughts, feedback, then do let us know.
Okay,
are you ready?
To the meeting, yes.
Okay, are you allowed to share? You can share. Cool.
All right, I just wanted to quickly mention a new section in the documentation for Trivy ecosystem here. And this is, we started to collect all of the different integrations and use cases and the cool things that everyone did around Trivy, some of the things that we did around Trivy, but also some of the things that you did, everyone did around Trivy. So I just wanted to, first of all, call this out because this is a relatively new thing, and you can see here sections by categories, so CI/CD integrations, for example. You can see all the different things here. Some of the things here we created and we maintain. We note them as official here. Some of the things here are like completely community-driven, other people or other companies did and maintained them, and we just wanted to have one place to collect all of the different integrations that Trivy might have. You can see also different IDEs or developer tools that integrate with Trivy. So I wanted to first of all introduce this, and second of all, I invite you to just add your stuff here. If you're using Trivy in any other way, or if you wrote an example of how to use Trivy in another way, or you wrote an integration of Trivy, just create a pull request and add your integration to this section of the documentation. Hopefully this will grow and be a very comprehensive list of things that Trivy can integrate with.
Awesome. Thank you for for sharing and pointing that out again. Yeah, also there's another section in the tutorials where we add like content, video content and blog content that community members have written. So if we forgot something, then also add that there. There are multiple sections in the docs where you can share the content that you've created. Great. There's
And one more thing I can share. What's next in Trivy? I can't promise, but we are working on the Windows support. So hopefully we will release the Windows binary in the near future. Not sure, but we are trying. So yeah, because some developers are using VS Code on Windows, and they want to use Trivy integration of the VS Code on Windows, but it doesn't work now because Trivy doesn't have the Windows binaries. But yeah, we are trying. So hopefully, yeah, in the next release. I can't promise. We can't promise, but again, but yeah, we are doing our best.
awesome. If you have any questions on the roadmap of Trivy, you can also ask those questions here on the call. That's what this call is for. Great. If anybody else wants to share something, now would be the time. Otherwise, this is what we wanted to share and talk about and showcase. It's really great to see so many people joining for the first call, given that we just kicked this off. So this is going to be a monthly meeting at the beginning of every month and showcasing changes and new features of Trivy and related projects. Great. If there are no questions, no other thoughts, then this is it for the first meeting. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Like always, you can also always post in the Slack. So see you there. Have an amazing evening, day, morning, wherever you are. Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Bye.